Hi, I'm Molly Shepard. I grew up at Wilshire, so I've been around since about 1994 with my family. Ed and Linda Francis are my parents and my three sisters. And I rejoined Wilshire when I got back from college. I graduated from Baylor in 2016.
And I'm Michael Shepard. I joined in 2016 when I moved up from Waco. And so I've been here for a little over 4 years now.
So we're going to talk about why we continue to make giving a spiritual practice. So for me, having grown up at Wilshire, I started practicing giving very early. I think in Dr. and Mrs. Jernberg's first grade Sunday school class, I had my little envelope, and my parents gave each of me and my sisters an allowance each week, and we were expected to save 10% and tithe 10%. So that's always been part of my practice at church. It's certainly changed over the years and has grown along with my faith, but it's definitely been ingrained in me since I was pretty small.
I, on the other hand, did not grow up in the church, and let alone giving to the church until I was an adult. It wasn't until I found 7th and James Baptist Church in Waco that I found a community that I felt a part of and felt like investing in, and that's what it started feeling like. I want to invest and be a part of this community, so I'm going to help make that happen. And that continued on when moving to Dallas at Wilshire, and I've found that over the years it's slowly but surely become less of an investment and more of a spiritual practice, as we talked about. So that's been a great process to be a part of, and I'm grateful to you and your family and Wilshire for helping me kind of figure that out along the way.
Yeah, I do think that's one thing that has changed for me certainly over the years, whereas back in first grade, and I think my allowance was $1 and my tithe was 10 cents, so not a whole lot on the line. I connected real well with the woman and her two mites, because that's about all I had to give. So over the years, like Michael said, it's that community aspect that makes you want to keep giving, and giving maybe a little more than a dime here and there. And it really is sort of an investment in your community, in Dallas, in the wider mission of the church. So it can be difficult at times. That's the next kind of thing we were going to talk about. Is there have definitely been moments that it's been difficult for the two of us to give, and we have continually tried to have the conversation to make sure that we do continue that practice.
Yeah, I remember when we first got married, I still had a semester of school, so there was a point when there were 2 mouths to feed and 1 income, and we still had the conversations about what it looked like to figure out what it meant to give and what that looked like at the time. There have been more fun conversations, like when I started work, but there's always going to be some aspect of life that kind of catches you off guard. You finish school, and then you've got school loans, and then it turns out you also start your job the week before Dallas shut down for COVID. So there's been no shortage of difficult, interesting conversations, but that kind of seems to come hand in hand with what it looks like to find out the spiritual practice of giving, and not just the investment of giving.
Yeah.
So that's been, I'm continuously grateful for those conversations, and I think back to generations that we were lucky enough to be a part of in the fall, and what I found there was, like, we were having conversations and figuring out what our story of giving looks like. There are as many of those stories as there are people in the church, and to have met with and spoken with many of you at the church was a great blessing, because to hear those stories and to understand that we're all in this as a group, as a church, and figuring it out along the way has just been I'm really grateful.
Yeah. I don't think any of us anticipated 2020 when we were going through Generations campaign last fall, but I don't think it changes any of the work that we committed to. We still have these wonderful missions ahead of us, just through meeting our church budget and going about our church life, as well as the Pathways Endowment and fulfilling the commitment that we've made to our residents. And I think, like Michael said, everyone's story really is different. And ours, we've been married 2 years and we've seen a lot of ups and downs, I think, for maybe just a 2-year married couple. But I think, every November is actually a pretty good cadence to revisit and rethink, and make sure that you are kind of recommitting to that faith practice of giving regularly.
Absolutely. And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't remind you that the work that we talked about last fall is still ongoing. With Pathways, we have 2 new great residents that have come in and started doing great work. And so by continuing to give, you continue to support not only the services that we've come to find work in this crazy time as a church, but also in ensuring that the interns and the residents continue to be able to do their work in this world as well. So,
yeah. We would invite you to join us in giving this season, whether it's a first time for you to try out this practice or whether you've been doing it for many, many years. We're grateful to be part of this community with you and excited to see what comes in the time ahead. Thank you.
Thanks.